It's very interesting for me to see how many people are saying, yes, we systematically use information, we learn from our experience, and yes, we do think there is opportunity for improvement, because as the Director General of the Independent Evaluation Group, that is exactly what we as evaluators believe in. Otherwise, our job would be quite pointless. However, and this is what stimulated this particular event, is that we have evaluated how does the World Bank actually learn from its experience, and does it do so as much and as well as we would expect it to do. And the answer is maybe surprising, because a lot of you have very positive experiences with the World Bank Group, but we in evaluation found that there are many more opportunities where it can actually do better. We are living in a world and in a society that is very much driven by success. We all want to be successful. I don't want to step off the stage and feeling like, oh my God, this was a terrible speech, right? And the same applies to anybody who is doing a good professional job. And in the World Bank, there are top qualified people who are doing excellent jobs. And, you know, the institutional pressures of saying, like, this was excellent are very, very strong. And standing up and saying, like, you know what, this didn't really work is hard. You sort of lose face in front of your peers, in front of your colleagues. And I would venture to say that the World Bank, as the premier development institution, would find that also very challenging to do in a very public space as an institution, because the expectation from everybody, clients, shareholders, partners, is that this institution is always in the lead and always in the know.
Unfortunately, in the past, when people look at the World Bank, they look more at the bank, not as a development bank. So the word development disappears somehow, but you cannot sustainably develop without having the data. I think World Bank is one of the few organizations on the ground that work together in terms of supporting the capacity for statistics, and also looking at the statistics, what they tell us, and looking at how they impact the outcome, so that we can plan together, because our system is that we do the planning, and then for all the programs and the projects, we go through them in terms of follow-up, in terms of evaluation, but we are more interested in the outcome. What impact did these projects and programs have, and how do we plan now going forward? So for us, in terms of evidence-based, in terms of really the impact and looking long-term, because World Bank is supposed to be looking long-term. We've been working with World Bank on this, and we've been working together as a team. What I think I would caution, and this we have succeeded in Rwanda, is that World Bank is not only a bank, but it is a knowledge institution. And at the same time, for them, they have an advantage of working with so many countries. For us in Rwanda, we are the only country. So they have knowledge, they have information of various countries, and they can do the comparison. But then they should also not be able to replace the country and own the information. We should work together with the World Bank empowering us, and then trying to analyze and be able to see how we can make development. And we are seeing this happening, at least in the case of Rwanda.
We also have our own stories that we'd like to share. And I think the World Bank is in a unique position to be able to push from one side of the world to the other side of the world that which was learned there already. I would like, in the interest of efficiency, because we are running a race on sustainable development, I'd rather us work on the differences, because if that similar experience has already happened elsewhere in the world, I'd rather concentrate on adapting the differences to the realities that we face. Now, I'm not saying the World Bank's not doing that, because it has been very helpful. I guess we're really looking at how can we move faster and better.
The audience answered that sometimes the data are collected but ignored for political reasons. And I think this is true not only for development cooperation or for the World Bank, but it's true for politics at large. I mean, look at climate change. We have the data. We've had the data for a long time. We know that this is going to cost the global society a lot more if we don't address this problem. still decisions are made all along the way that goes quite counter to science. The same with fisheries policy, which I've been very much involved in, where you can have the most precise data on fish stocks and fish stock abundance. However, politicians just ignore that because of more short-term reasons for having their constituencies pleased when it comes to also meeting the fisheries industry's very short-term interests. So this is kind of a human thing, that it's not only that we just have the data and then we go along with that, but there's so many other factors involved, such as political interests, as psychological factors as well. However, we need very much to have a much better relationship with data. We need to have much more data in order for us to realize the Agenda 2030.
And so it's very difficult to find an organization that is already primed for change management. It's whether through circumstances in the market or their industry. We work with many companies in industries that are being quote unquote disrupted. So healthcare, technology being foremost among those. So in those predicaments, you find organizations that are looking for a better way and looking to not throw the baby out with the bathwater, because certainly where they have come to date so far and to the degree to which they've succeeded in doing so is based, of course, on some cultural attributes that inform that success. So the balancing act there is to not completely reinvent, but to refocus or recast what was done before with new additional elements.
So there is no way anybody can hide failure. Let's understand that. If somebody can hide failure, that means the system is not working. Now the question comes, what you do with that failure, whether you rejoice, whether you take action, or what you do. If a company aspires to be an innovative company, you have to provide employees to fail. If you are not ready to fail, then you cannot be innovative. Number one, experimentation cannot happen without the appetite of having failure. However, if your learning management system is not watertight, if the failure learnings are not surfacing to everybody and people don't emulate that learning, then the failure exists and sustains. That is dangerous.
The signaling commitment to learning is very critical. We also hold our own senior management and our own senior management and our own executive board in a way accountable to be role models in this learning approach, and that goes not just to the point of creating the space that you need for learning, and perhaps also allowing us to change the prism towards a longer term perspective that I think has been highlighted here, but also when we look at the way risk is being approached in the institution, that when we go into a developing country, we know full well that there are some initiatives that may end in failure, which often is actually something that we want to encourage. Without taking risk, there can't be any real learning, and without learning from failure, there really is no culture of moving forward. So I think the notion of risk and what risk tolerance we have and the link to learning is something that is very important, and where our senior management in particular has a critical role to play in backing up teams when risks actually materialize and when failure indeed happens in a project, and is then not something that is necessarily something that's bad, but something that is important to learn from and move forward.